Hello? Who's this? What? What? Are you kidding me? Jeff Cook. The Jeff Cook? Are you kidding me? Jeff, I got up my brick
Sir,
phone just to welcome you to the show. Thank you for
I
joining us, Jeff
deeply
Cook.
respect that phone. It's amazing. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be much cooler if you were in New Jersey right now instead of like in the same town I'm in, just for, you know, for
True
for
story.
um
Listen,
it's all about show ratings for me, and if I get people from all over the world, that's better. But alas,
listen,
we're
a
in the
week and
same
a half
town.
ago, yeah.
A week and a half ago, you were up in the Dirty Jers?
I was up there. Yes, sir.
Heck yeah. Did you go to Wawa?
Had my fellow Wawa. Of course.
Did you? Did you
Of
go?
course I did. I did.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What is your go-to at Wawa? Like, is there something that you're
Uh,
like, oh, I love this?
I so I very much like the Italian hoagie from
Okay.
Wawa,
Uh-huh.
which I understand there are much better sandwiches. But something about that particular one, maybe I'm just
Uh-huh.
emotionally connected to it. And for a
Me
long
too.
time, although yeah, I haven't seen it in a minute, but they had this Oreo cream donut. So it was kind
Oh
of like a
gosh.
Boston cream, but it had like an
Dangerous.
Oreo type cream filling.
Oh.
Outstanding. I was a much younger man when I ate those all the time.
Oh, with a
I
much
don't know if that
different
would still work out.
metabolism.
Yes. Oh yes.
Uh-huh. So I'm sure you
Right.
know the news. We've probably talked about it before that the Wawa has announced plans to open in North Carolina in 2024.
Hmm.
I
That's
don't
what
care
they
where they
say.
open. It could be in Oak Island, 6 hours away. I'll be there for opening day.
Good
I
reason to go
think.
to Oak
I
Island.
think. At least I think I will.
Sure.
We'll see if I hold up my promise to be at the opening of the first Wawa in North Carolina. But
And that's
gosh,
a historic moment.
yeah. So I've known you, Mr. Jeff Cook, for 6 years, probably
Yep. Yes, sir.
6 years. And our biggest commonality is that we're both from New Jersey. Well, I can say I'm
Hmm.
from New Jersey. It's just the last place I lived before North Carolina. And I did live there for 10 years. Very, very formative years for me, college and then after college. But at least we can
Sure.
commiserate about the lack of
Oh, yeah.
bagels down here, the
Hmm.
fact that they're not called
Well,
hoagies down here.
you do a decade in Jersey,
Uh,
and I think you get the card for that
I mean,
for
I
sure.
did not pump my own gas for 10 years.
Hmm. I have to say
So,
though, going back now,
uh-huh.
the not being able to just pump it myself, like I was at a quick check gas station, like
Uh-huh.
10 pumps, one guy
Oh
sitting there
gosh.
trying to get somewhere. So,
Mm.
I mean, I still love Jersey, but I don't know that I like the whole can't pump my own gas thing anymore.
Yeah. Do you know, at least the last time I checked, do you know the only other state in the country where you cannot pump your own gas? There's only one other
I didn't
state.
even know there was one. No, what is it?
Apparently, it's Oregon.
Really?
This is the legend that I've heard. And I
Listen,
think I looked it up on the Google many years ago, but it's worth looking up again to see if that's still the case.
sure.
Why? Who knows?
That
Why do they? Well,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
an
know.
odd pairing. Like Oregon
It
and New
is an odd
Jersey.
pairing.
Not
Yeah.
not what you would put
Bookends of the
together.
country. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's true. Yeah.
So, Jeff, I have one more question for you. It popped into my head. I wanted to
Sure.
ask you something that would catch you off guard. If Jeff Cook
Okay.
could have $10 million tomorrow to do whatever you wanted with, tax free, $10 million for you and your family to do whatever you wanted with, but you would
Mhm.
lose the final 10 years of your life. So you would die 10 years earlier than whatever age you would have died, but you have $10 million right now.
Mhm.
Would you take the deal? would you take the deal?
Nope. Wouldn't even think
Really?
about it.
Really?
Can't do it. If
Gosh.
it were now, you ask me this question in 15 years when all of my
Okay.
kids are adults, when they're doing their own thing. But at this point, I've had to internalize what me not being around would do to them,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
And it
And not
also
for nothing, but
comes
people
down
in my
to
family, they live until, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say people in my family live to the late 90s. So I'd still
oh
get a bunch of
gosh.
decades in, but
Yeah. Well, that was easy for you. Congratulations. I don't know if I would have
yeah.
gotten my answer that quick. I would have had to really, really think. Well,
Hmm.
no better time than now to dive into, since the show is called The Moments That Made Us, we'll dive into your moment or a couple moments that are all very, very connected. And here's what I would love to know about what age were you when this moment happened?
Just under 20.
Just under 20. Okay. And living in Jersey,
Yep.
and
Yep.
set us up like a short amount of time, what life was like immediately leading up to the moment happening. What was going on in your life
Sure.
around that time?
Yes. So deeply related. In that season of life between uh, 16 and 20, I counted, I went to rehab 18 times.
Nice.
Some short, some longer.
Wow.
Only one that was kind of significant. But so I
Yeah.
was in and out, uh, and still very much like in my parents' family, and them worrying about me and providing for me and all that stuff. And so most of what I was trying to do was just rebuild trust in that
Mm-hmm.
relationship and in other areas of my life. At that point, I really didn't even have like a vision for the future. I was just
Mm-hmm.
trying to break free of what I kind of thought was going to kill me at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this
Which is
particular
addiction.
moment leading up
Yeah.
to it, I had come out. Yes. So I had come out of rehab, and like every time I went to a rehab, I was the guy in the rehab who knew all the right answers, and that guy's gonna get it. I never did,
Mm.
but that's who
Mm-hmm.
everyone thought I was. And so
Mm-hmm.
so leading up to this, I had come back out again. Things were seemingly going well, right? Like wasn't super hooked on anything physically. Parents thought I was clean, didn't have charges immediately pending, and I was kind of living in that little bubble of an illusion that I would get every so often before I actually finally broke free, where people around me thought I was doing okay and I was managing
Mm-hmm.
to hide it.
Ah. So you really weren't doing okay, but you had the
Nope.
veneer of doing okay. Were you living with your
Yes.
parents or had you moved out?
Yeah. So I was back in with them. I had been in and out a whole bunch of times, but was back
Mm-hmm.
in with them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this particular evening, and we'll get to the specifics of it, but just for the record, I had done a good deal of heroin walking
Mm-hmm.
into this thing. And just important fact for the story, there is a medication way back then. The brand name was Rivia. It's called naltrexone, which more people have heard about now, but it's not naloxone. It's not the thing that brings you back. It's naltrexone is something that stops your brain from being able to get high off of opiates.
Mm.
But if you have
Mm-hmm.
opiates in your system, it causes very rapid detox and can in fact kill you. You can't die from
Wow.
heroin overdose or from heroin withdrawal, rather.
Uh-huh.
But if you get thrown into it super suddenly, your body can shut down and that can kill
Mm-hmm.
you. And
Wow. Okay.
that was a part of my story, was getting
Yeah.
prescribed that and always kind of
Yeah.
having it around and all that jazz.
Yeah. So here we go. Let's dive in to the
Sure.
moment.
Uh,
So it's a
yes.
dark and stormy night. Where are we at? What's going on?
So I was out somewhere. I don't remember specifically where I was out, just that I came home and had
Mm-hmm.
done a bunch. Now, at this stage, at this particular season, I wasn't shooting anything, I was sniffing it. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had done a bunch, still had a whole bunch of bags on me, coming in the house late at night, really just trying to like get in and kind of go to bed and just make it to the next day. Came in presumably later than I should have been. My mother was still awake. Kind of thought something was up and started kind of giving me a little bit of a hard time. But one of the
Mm-hmm.
things we had said I was going to do to live with them again was take this medication, right? This naltrexone. Now, obviously, I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
been taking it. I'd just been kind of
Mm-hmm.
dodging it. And
Mm-hmm.
so for whatever reason, this particular night, she kind of makes me take it and like sits there and watches and whatever. Like I had to take it. Now I already knew what would happen in that situation.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had to. So I took it and I tried to kind of like calm her and rush her off to bed, which I was able to do.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you know where I was? I was out with my girlfriend at the time. But so I tried to rush my mom off to bed. So she goes up there and our kitchen, like you'd walk in from the garage into the kitchen and there's like a little half bath and then the little breakfast nook past it. And so I get her upstairs and I go into the bathroom in the kitchen and I
And
start
try
trying
to
to make
throw it up.
myself throw up, which
Yeah.
I'm like shoving my finger down there. Nothing's happening. And then the phone starts ringing, and I realize that because of the interaction with my mom, I never called my girlfriend to let her know that I was there. And so now she's calling, and I know
Calling like
that
the
there's going to
house
be
line.
tension. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Calling me to try and like see what was, because I mean, she also kind of knew the deal. And so I was in a season where like when I got home, I called people, and when I went out, I called
Uh-huh.
people, and that whole
Okay.
life. And I hadn't because I ran into my
Mm-hmm.
mom. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in there, the phone's ringing. I can't answer it because I have no time to contend with
Mm-hmm.
that. But eventually I had
Mm-hmm.
to. So I kind of like jump on and I try and rush her off, but she's being all weird. And I kind of just get off. And now I'm starting to feel like I'm literally feeling the pill break down in my stomach. And this just pain is starting to erupt. And again, I know what's going to happen, so I'm terrified. So I go out of the bathroom. We got, junk drawer in the kitchen. I'm looking around for things. I find a Bic pen, a blue ballpoint Bic pen that was Lord only knows how old. And I run back in the bathroom and I grab the pen because my finger hadn't been long enough to make me throw up. And I shove the pen into my throat to try and make me throw up. Doesn't work. I gagged a little bit though. So I'm like, okay, I'm almost there. Phone starts ringing again. I pull my fingertips back, literally fingertips on the ballpoint, trying to get myself to throw up, go in one more time, and then I lose my grip on the pen.
And swallow the
And
pen.
so I didn't swallow it. Thank you, Jesus, I didn't follow it. I have this, and this is like the first moment that hit me because I am quite
Uh-huh.
sure it lasted maybe 1.5 seconds, but it felt like an eternity because I am literally hunched over in my parents' bathroom, phone ringing off the hook. My body is starting to vibrate in pain. I know my mom's about to come down because the phone keeps ringing, and I have a pen lodged in my throat. And I had what I can only call a moment of utter desperation, right? Like my entire world collapsing around me, and I'm just watching, powerless to do anything else. And it was horrible. I again, sheer desperation, take my three fingers and somehow shove them
Shove.
far enough down to just grab the tip of the pen and pull it back out. So it didn't get stuck. but I also didn't throw up, right? And I didn't really know what to do other than just sit there and let it consume me. And so it
Yeah.
starts getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know, like my body starts shaking. You lose control
Mhm.
of bodily functions, like the whole nine.
Mhm.
And I start to realize, like, I probably have to just come clean because
Mhm.
something really bad is about to happen. And so I go out through the kitchen and I start to go up the stairs and make it around. There's like, you'd go up the stairs and kind of around, and there'd be this little landing. And that's where my
Mhm.
parents' room was. I
Mhm.
did not make it to their
Mhm.
door. I made it to the
Mhm.
landing right in front of their door and I fell down convulsing. And so I'm
Mm.
still kind of conscious at this point.
Yeah.
My mom comes out. I'm cognizant enough to know that she's out there freaking out. Yell
Yeah.
at my dad. I'm assuming was on the phone with the ambulance to get someone to come
Yeah.
over. And I'm laying there and I'm just like, just this horrible, horrible pain in every cell of my being. And I start to feel peace. Like I can close my eyes and picture like black. And the something about heroin withdrawal that's really hard to explain to people unless they've experienced it is you get a cold that exists inside your bones, like a painful cold feeling inside your
Okay.
bones. And so I had that in spades, but now all of a sudden I start to feel a little bit of warmth and I start to
Mhm.
feel my body relax a little bit. And I'm thinking, oh, like I don't know what's happening, but this is great. And I vividly remember the thought occurring to me, I'm dying. Like
Mhm.
that's what's happening. I'm
Mhm.
not gaining relief. I'm gonna
Mhm.
die on this floor in front of my
Mhm.
mother.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what happened between that realization and the EMTs showing up. I
Mhm.
kind of remember them picking me up and carrying me down the stairs. I remember that one of them was a kid that I knew from high school, which was
Wow.
really awesome. Um,
Oh.
and so then I know I got in an ambulance. I don't remember it. I know I got to the hospital. I have like a flash of the hospital, but
Mhm.
they ended up basically, I mean, it probably sounds bigger than it is to say they put me in a medically induced coma, but like essentially, I get in there. This I all know after the fact. Like I was not
Right.
cognizant of it,
Yeah.
but I was convulsing so hard. They put me in 4-point restraints because they were afraid I was
Wow.
going to break a bone on the bed,
Gotcha.
and ended up knocking me out for 3 or 4 days. Uh,
Mhm.
but the and like when I kind of came to, it took me a couple days to kind of regain even awareness of what was going on, make it home, be able to stand up for any length of time and start
Mhm.
to try and move forward. But I found out from my girlfriend, I had a number of visitors while I was in
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
And one was a particular family member who I've always agreed not to really mention, but that, like I care about. And, and I apparently had started to get a little bit aggressive. Like they started to bring me out and I started getting aggressive, saying I wanted to go and I was done with this. And
Mhm.
apparently, I ripped out my catheter and ripped out my IV and was trying to leave the hospital room forcibly. And because I had ripped the IV out,
Uh-huh.
there's blood literally squirting everywhere. And this happened to be the moment that this particular family member that was super concerned about me happened to
Uh-huh.
walk in to my
Oh.
hospital room. And
Yeah.
so forever, I am aware that I burnt that image into her mind,
Mhm.
that I burnt the
Mhm.
image of me like convulsing violently on the floor into my mother's mind.
Mhm.
Not to mention all the things
Mhm.
I did to my girlfriend at the time. Like it as a whole was probably the most damage I've done to people I love in one
Mhm.
foul swoop.
Mhm.
And I spent like I started using when I was 11. So I spent a
Mhm.
lot of years stealing from people and lying to people and breaking their hearts. But that little stretch of time, that one event, uh, contains stuff that this is. So I mean, I'm 45, right? Like
Mhm.
25 years later,
Mhm.
and God still uses it this way. If I ever start to feel entitled to
Mhm.
anything,
Mhm.
relationally, in
Mhm.
life, whatever,
Mhm.
he is kind to me and he immediately brings me back, either to that moment of complete desperation, hunched
Mhm.
over in my parents' bathroom, which
Mhm.
makes, you know what? I got 5 kids, and yesterday morning, one of them woke me up at 3 a.m. and I had to
Mhm.
do something for him, and my back hurt, and I couldn't fall back asleep, and I was up. So this morning, I got up at 3 a.m.
Mhm.
And
I
like
got up at
the
4.
second I start to feel nice, was that on purpose?
I just woke up and couldn't fall back asleep, so I just got up and started cranking.
Uh, yep. But the moment I start to feel bad for myself about
Mhm.
any of that, I
Mhm.
remember that there was a time in life where literally the only thing I wanted was to get the
Mhm.
pen out of my throat. Um,
Mhm.
Anytime I start to get into it with people or feel frustrated about being judged or criticized or whatever, like I immediately go back to the amount of grace
Mhm.
that I've been shown in my
Mhm.
life by
Mhm.
like almost all of the people closest to me.
Mhm.
Um, there's just there's no way to measure that. And
Mhm.
so it kind of keeps me in this constant posture of humility.
Mhm.
Not,
And
and
gratitude.
I say this, and I think, yes, absolutely. I feel like because I end up saying this a lot to people just because of what I do for work. I do a
Mhm.
lot of counseling in that
Mhm.
job. And so I always say to people like, look, I'm never going to judge you. Like there's nothing
Mhm.
you're going to say that I'm going to be like, oh, look at this guy. And
Mhm.
I think people think I'm placating them or like just
Mhm.
trying to make them feel good, but
Mhm.
I'm really not. I
Mhm.
like as a
Mhm.
logical, critical thinker, I have no ground anywhere to stand on to look down
Yeah.
at anybody.
Yeah.
So, and for a long time that hurt until it kind of stopped. And
Mhm.
now it's probably one of my greatest sources of strength.
Yeah. It's it's a permanent perspective. It's a permanent like lens in your glasses that you see through that will be there
Yep.
forever. Huh.
For sure.
Yeah. So isn't it interesting how people will say I want to have a pain-free life. I want to avoid pain avoidance seems to be the mantra in America. If I can just avoid pain, people better not say mean things to me. There needs to be laws preventing them from saying mean things to me, and because I don't want ever to have my feelings hurt or physically hurt. I don't want any pain ever. But is it even possible to gain an ounce of strength mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically without some sort of stress or tension or pain? I don't think it's possible.
Sure. I
It's a
yep. I
necessary
was saying the other,
means to an end.
yep. I was saying the other day, I think that culturally, we've kind of
Mhm.
conflated the idea of loving people with making them comfortable.
Mhm.
Like if I love you, I will make you comfortable. And if all I'm concerned about is how you feel, then
Mhm.
yes, that is probably true. Uh, However, any of us who have lived any length of time know that to actually love someone is about way more than how they feel. It's about who
Mhm.
they are. It's about them growing and developing and learning and becoming who they're meant to be. And so, with
Mhm.
that in mind, I would argue I can't think of a single loving thing that people did for me over the course of my life, significantly loving,
Mhm.
that did not make me uncomfortable or cause me
Mhm.
some kind of pain. Because
Mhm.
that's the place we grow from, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. What so if anyone's listening that has had their bouts with addiction, what as we come in for a landing here, the last 2 or 3 minutes, what is some encouragement you could share that has helped you stay within the guardrails for the last umpteen number of years, however long it's been? What are some
Sure.
hacks that you have found that have helped you stay within the guardrails?
Yep. Number one for me, because it has been important from day one and still is, uh, freedom from addiction is a holistic process. There has to be a physical component, an emotional component, and a spiritual component, or it just
Mhm.
doesn't work.
Hmm.
And so, and I do better or worse in all three of those areas at various points, but that's my
Mhm.
metric. So, like, I might
Mhm.
be killing it on getting enough rest, exercise, and eating well. And I might be in the word, praying constantly, but
Mhm.
I'm taking on too much and I'm letting myself feel overwhelmed all the time, right? Like,
Mhm.
whatever it is. The other thing that I just firmly believe, and I practice this, that the thing, whether you want to refer to it as the enemy or the disease of addiction or both,
Mhm.
the thing that it needs to do in order to get me is it needs to isolate me. And so
Mhm.
anything that's going on in my life that separates me from people, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. Like, I love solitude, but I mean,
Mhm.
big picture, if I don't have other individuals in my life that know for real what's up with me, I'm in a
Mhm.
very dangerous place. And I
Mhm.
have found, really, just by practicing those two boundaries in my life, like that one metric and making sure I've always had community, I
Mhm.
think that's really the thing that has kind
Mhm.
of broken me to this point. Because I mean, statistically, when I got clean, people who use drugs the way that I used them, 9 out of 10 of us either died or spent the rest of our life in jail. And like,
Mhm.
I'm not special, but I
Mhm.
happen to be fortunate enough to have this kind of view, this holistic view, which is just the
Mhm.
circumstances of how I was raised, and a lot of people that loved me enough to force
Mhm.
their way into my life when I
Mhm.
was trying to push them away.
Tough love is a real thing. It ain't just a
Mhm.
cliche. Yeah. Well, Jeff, dude, we're out of time, and I wish we could keep going because there is so much more we could get into, so many more rabbit trails we could go down. Uh,
Sure.
that this that you're sharing has just popped into my head. All these thoughts and questions, but alas, it's like a 30-minute show, so we're out of time. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll do a part two
Yeah.
sometime. And
Sure.
I really sure appreciate you being on, Jeff. Really, 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 Jeff Cook, everybody. And so
My
where can
pleasure.
people? So you have some stuff on YouTube. You got some stuff on
I
Instagram,
do.
TikTok.
So,
How do people find you?
so uh, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but so Rev Jeff 1977.
REV as in Victor, Rev
Yep.
Jeff, 1977.
Yep. 1977. And so that's my TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
my YouTube, which is the places that I do new stuff most, is
Sure.
TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah. You guys want some encouragement? You guys want some interesting thoughts about spiritual things or just philosophical things or just human behavior things or parenting things? That's where to go.
The
Check it out.
occasional dad joke.
Yes, please. Oh my gosh. Jeff, in honor of Wawa, the Wawa. Thank you
Nice.
so much for being on. Really
Yeah.
appreciate
Thanks
you,
for
and I'll
having me,
talk to you
man.
soon.
Sounds good.
Heck yeah. Take it easy.
Take care.